Do you ever look back at your 20s and wonder, did I save enough? Why didn't I save enough? If only I was smarter with my money. Or are you in your 20s, and if you're anything like me, when I was in my 20s, you barely have two toonies to rub together and you're trying to survive? Well, financial expert and author Rachel Cruze is here today to talk to us about 5 of the biggest money mistakes 20-somethings make. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, thanks for having me on. Thanks.
So there are a lot of things that 20-somethings are usually dealing with. So there's school, there's a part-time job, sometimes they're living on their own, they're thinking about their future. So it's easy to make mistakes as they go through this part of their life, right?
Absolutely. You're on your own for the first time, you're earning an income and you're realizing, oh wow, I'm in charge of this. And there's kind of a fun freedom with it, right? It's like, oh, I can spend this money and enjoy it. And then suddenly some of the mistakes start to creep up on you. And so you have to realize to lay a great foundation for yourself, financially speaking, in your 20s if it's possible.
So you say that there are 5 mistakes, especially that 20-somethings make, and the 5th one, we'll work our way down, is buying a house too soon. I don't know any 20-something that's buying a house, but apparently they're out there.
Yes, there are some out there. And again, it's this idea of, okay, I'm living on my own, or maybe I'm getting married, maybe I'm having my first job. There's so many transitions, especially in your 20s. And so some people decide, okay, I think I should take on a mortgage and I'm going to buy a house. And what happens is they buy usually too big of a house and they realize that their mortgage ends up being more of a curse than a blessing. So I always tell 20s, hey, if you're in a season of life where things are changing, just rent. Renting is not a bad thing. It's not throwing your money away. Rent and save up. So that way when you are settled down and you're in a job, you'll probably be at for a little while. Maybe you're married, all those kinds of things. Or you're in a place where, okay, I really do want to settle down and have a house. Then you can buy a house. But so many 20s, some of them rush into it.
Yeah, when everything's a little more stable in their lives.
That's
now,
exactly
number
right.
4 is believing the lie that you can have a credit score.
Yes, this is huge. So many people think, okay, well, I need to get a credit card to build my credit. And the FICO score, the credit score, people worship it. I mean, it's insane. People think, okay, well, if I have a good credit score, that means I'm good with money. And that's not the case at all, because what your credit score is, mathematically speaking, is just how you interact with debt. So you have to be in debt, staying in debt to get a good credit score. And the main reason people get a credit score, they believe they have to have one, is to get a mortgage for a house. But you can actually get a house, you can get a mortgage without a credit score through what's called manual underwriting. And so again, this lie that you have to have a credit score to survive in America today, it's just not the truth. So don't go into debt to build your credit score. Stay away from debt and you're able to live a great life without a credit score, I promise.
So manual underwriting, let's go into that a little bit more. What does that entail? And does that mean also for a car? Because many people would think you need a credit score in order to, even lease a car or buy a car.
Yes, and if you're going to go take out loans, take a loan to get a car, then you do have to have a credit score. But I believe in no debt. So I believe driving a car that you can pay cash for, which means that might be, $1,000. It's not going to be a very pretty car, but you can afford it. So I want you to stay away from all car payments in general. And then for having a house, yes, manual underwriting here in America at least, what you have to do is be current on all of your bills, like cable, electricity, cell phone, for 2 years. And you have to be current on a job for 2 years. And then you take that information and the mortgage broker can underwrite you the mortgage versus looking at a credit score. And it's a little bit more difficult, I'm going to be honest. There's a lot of work involved, so be prepared. But the great thing is that you can get a mortgage without a credit score.
Wow, that's great news. Number 3, failing to save. I think this is something not even just the 20-somethings, 30-somethings, 40-somethings, we all fail in this area. Saving.
Yes, it's so hard because when you save, you have to have patience and you can't just go into delayed gratification, you have to have delayed gratification. And so much of our culture today, it's so instant, right? I mean, even our phones, you can make a dinner reservation, buy a pair of shoes, look at the traffic. I mean, you can do so much so instantly now that has seeped into our money habits. And so what I want people to do is have a habit of saving money. And when you're doing a budget, then saving needs to be at the top of that. Because what happens is so many people, they go through their budget and they say, well, at the end of the month, I don't have any money to save. And I say, well, that's because you have your budget upside down. So turn that budget around, have saving at the top. It has to be a priority. So you can save for first an emergency fund, have $1,000 emergency fund. then get out of debt, and then bump that up to 3 to 6 months of expenses of emergency funds saved in the bank. Save up for things you want. We just talked about a car. Instead of going out and getting a car loan, save up a little bit of money every month and then go buy a car with cash.
So when you're talking about saving, is there a certain amount that we should save each month, or does that vary depending on your paycheck and how much you can afford?
Yeah, it's going to vary. When it comes to the emergency fund, I would say do that as fast as possible. So if that means that you're not going out to eat, maybe you're cutting the cable for a little bit, you're doing what you can to put as much money towards saving. So that percentage may be a little higher because I want you to get that emergency fund in place. And then once you're out of debt and you have a fully funded emergency fund, then you can kind of back it off a little bit and look into things like saving for retirement and kids' college. So there's always going to be a percentage of your income that you need to be saving. And that's the important thing, is so many people, they don't save at all. So if you can work up to saving something, then you're ahead of the game.
We only have a few minutes left, so we're going to roll in the last two into one.
Perfect.
So number 2 is forgetting you are 20-something, not a 50-something. And number 1 is not making a plan for your money.
Yes, this is huge, because so many people, they want to live like their parents, and they want to live like they're 50 years old and drive that car, go out to those restaurants, go on those vacations, but you can't. You have to live like you are in your 20s. And part of that means that you need to be intentional with where your money's going. So you need to have a written plan, a budget essentially, on what your paycheck is going to do for the following month. And being intentional with your money, this is probably the biggest thing you can do, is you will get ahead if you tell your money what to do instead of your money telling you what to do.
Now you're in your 20s, right, Rachel?
I am, yes, I'm 27.
And so you've been living this out for, so you're speaking from experience.
I am, yes. I'm not perfect with money, but I have put these habits in place in my own life, and I believe that's one of the reasons, my husband and I, we've been able to do well, because I could go off and get a car loan or go get a credit card or decide not to save my money, but I have to make these decisions day in and day out, and I promise, laying this foundation for my husband and I, where money isn't an issue for us because we are in control of it and we're telling it what to do by being on a budget, staying away from debt. It's an amazing, the peace of mind that you have and the ability to win financially so that you can go and help other people, and that giving can be part of your life.
I love that. You're in control of your money instead of your money being in control of you. Thank you again, Rachel Cruze, financial expert. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.